Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We've bellied up here to the bar. It's 14 days till Christmas, so if you haven't bought any presents yet, shame on you. Get your shit together now. But we're going to get into something. If you know me, you know I love music. The scheme right now was not planned in any way, shape, or form that we would all be wearing black T-shirts in some way, shape, or form. But somehow, through the power of what is good heavy metal, hard rock music, wait till I tell you guys who I just bought tickets to see today over in East Rutherford, New Jersey. You guys know who's doing a stadium tour, right? Oh, I'll tell you in a minute. Somebody who's doing a stadium tour. Very, very late 90s, early 2000s, hard rock, heavy metal, making it happen. But that's what we're here to talk about today is hard rock, heavy metal. And is heavy metal the last of honest rock and roll? And what I mean by that, folks, and I'd love to get everybody's feedback to it, is it still the last of rock and roll was always supposed to be counterculture, different type of a sound? Is heavy metal the last of it? So we're going to be doing that with the members of, and I got to love, at some point I'm asking what the hell the name came from. I think I have a reasoning for the name, but with right now we have Mike and Blake Chadwick of three, I almost said 3 kills, 3 sixes. Michael, if they ever need to change the name, 3 kills could be a hell of a band.
Could be a good side project too. Just the 3 of us playing different instruments. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, you could swap instruments. How?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get Damien on guitar. You know, Blake can sing because he can actually sing somewhat, and I'll play the drums. And I have no idea what rhythm I'll play, but it'll probably be similar to the jazz we already spoke about. So
yeah. Well, I mean, Blake looks like the guy that like you don't leave your girlfriend with him too long. He looks too handsome to be in a heavy metal band. He's got that look, like he's got the little soul patch thing going and everything.
He actually doubles as an Abercrombie and Fitch model. So did you know that? We have fun facts about to put on our website.
Oh, I love it already. Well, look, folks, we're gonna get into it. If you're finding us through the band or the band through us, make sure you're giving a like, follow, share, all those type of things. Which reminds me, I forgot to tell you guys. So if you see me looking to my left, don't be concerned that I'm ignoring you in any way. That's where all my notes are on the screen to my left, because that's just how I have everything set up at. So make sure that you're giving everything a good like, share, follow, so that other people can find us. Let's get into some house cleaning real quick. Over my right shoulder here, that's the big board for Sticker and a Cause. If you have something you believe in, something that you're supporting, maybe you have your own band or you're trying to start your own project, you have a podcast, I don't care what it is. You can reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. Our website is theabovethebarpodcast.com. Our email is theabovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out. Let me know what it is. I'll tell you where to send the sticker to. We'll get you all taken care of and read about you live here on the air at no cost to you. The other thing we got to talk about is the people that pay the bills around here, and that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Cooksaki, and Budget Blinds of Schoharie, the nation's largest window treatment company. They focus on everything from drapery, shutters, roller shades, honeycomb shades. Doesn't matter what it is. They'll even have products to tint your windows. Down where Michael is in Florida, they need that tint on those windows. It gets a little bright and sunny. And Blake, if it helps you any, I only go to California in San Diego during May and June. That's the only time I'm ever there, because I end up with the May grays and the June glooms of San Diego. I'm the guy that gets stuck there when everybody else is like, this place is amazing. I'm there during the shittiest weather that you have. It's guaranteed to happen. But that's why you have a company like Budget Blinds around, because they can make sure that you're taken care of. And up in the capital region here in New York, if you're around, Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Cooksaki, and Schoharie, they're doing 25% off of all motorized shades. And as always, if you tell them that you're there to belly up to the bar when you set your appointment or when you're placing your order, they're going to give you an additional 5% off the entire order just for letting them know that. So make sure you reach out, get those windows treatments taken care of. Like, have you guys ever seen motorized shades?
Yes,
Ooh,
they're pretty rad.
yeah.
Like you can voice activate them now, where you just talk to your smart device and tell it to raise and lower your shades, and it does it for you. It's absolutely amazing stuff there. So
Yeah, schedules and automations and stuff, everything, all that stuff
oh,
too.
oh, you can schedule it to like raise and lower. Like it's impressive stuff. So make sure you're checking it out, folks, and seeing what they've got going on there. All right. So all the house cleaning is done. How are you, gents? You good? All right, you got to
Doing
talk.
all right.
Got to talk, Michael. I know, like you're used to seeing me, but somebody's going to listen to the audio side. See, he's a big. How big is he, Blake? He looked like a big boy.
About 6'3".
No,
Like a little,
man, you're so fucking generous. Oh my god.
a little fella.
I'm 6'1", about two. I think I'm walking around about 235 right now, 240.
Good God.
So yeah, I love tacos and tacos love me. So
But see, but this is what people aren't going to understand is like hearing your voice, Michael. And that's why I always tell people go back and watch the live of these if you've never done it. Like here you are, 6'1", 240, and you have one of the softest voices that I've heard in a long time. Like you sound like you should be an English teacher.
or I could do those romance novel voiceovers, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know,
Caress your bosom with his
whoa,
cheek.
whoa.
Something. I don't know. Something. I don't want to get too far. I mean, I know Blake is actually sitting at the bar right now from what it looks of this. And I'm like, am I serving you? Oh, you're serving, but maybe we're both serving. Can I be your bar back? Maybe that's what it is.
I would listen. I would appreciate. You're probably the only one of us that could carry the kegs around at that point.
Blake's
it's
strong. He's taller than I am. How tall are you, Blake? Like 6'8" or something like that? Since we're embellishing a little bit right now.
We're just giving it away.
No, I'm 6'2", about 200 pounds.
Yeah. See, all that is. You guys will appreciate all that stuff because I've told the story here on the air many, many times. So I was so short growing up that my father had me go to a geneticist. I'm 5'8", but he was so concerned because my father's 6'2", all my cousins are 6'3", 6'4", his brothers are 6'6", 6'7", and then there was me. Like even the female cousins are taller than I am at 5'10". The shortest one's 5'10", and then there's me.
Wow.
Hey man, we got love for short kings. Don't worry, man.
Listen, I'm trying to make it happen every
and
day.
your beard is beautiful, by the way. You have a wonderful, magnificent beard, Sean.
Thank you.
I'll grow mine out like yours if I could.
I can't. I'm like a sloth. It just like comes in like all patchy and shit. I can't even grow like a nice beard.
I love my beard more than I can explain to you, and I spend time with like the rights, dude. Like, hey, welcome to Beard Hour. But I spend the money on like real beard soaps, like to wash my beard, and I put the balm in it every day. Like you got to do those things, and I get my hair cut every other week, and my barber trims my beard and takes care of it. Somebody called me for the second time ever in my life, Conor McGregor, because of my beard.
But you don't have the sex allegations and everything. So
no.
That's like apples and oranges at this point.
Yeah, we're pretty good as far as that's concerned. But we're done talking about my beard. Let's talk about you guys and talking about 3 6s. So Blake, you're the drummer.
Yes.
Michael. Now I wanted to ask you. Like, originally, you had Kill up there.
Yeah.
So do you each have like a different name that you go by within the band itself, kind of thing?
Yeah. So it actually stemmed back from when I joined the band. I've been there many moons now, but we actually had stage names or personas, so to speak.
Okay.
And mine's actually Kill Switch, and I've then just shortened to Kill and whatever random names they call me. When Damien gets on, you should ask him that question. He'll have a plethora of nicknames that he has for me. But we had the nicknames, but over time, I mean, I've recorded as Michael Cassidy in other avenues, I guess you can call it. But
okay,
I don't really care if anybody calls me Kill or Michael. I mean, whoever wants to. Damien still calls me Kill most of the time. Even when he just calls me to say what's up, he calls me Kill. Yeah, I mean, it's stuck for everything, but I just didn't know how you wanted to approach it. I mean, I'm cool with either one, to be honest with you. So
look, as I say, I'll call you by whatever you want, and I'm just glad you didn't give me a name that I couldn't pronounce.
Yes.
I normally butcher names pretty well. I'm just that guy. I have no choice in the matter. I'm going to butcher your name. It just is what it is. It's the story of my life. But so you were are you an original member, Michael?
Not really. So I moved to Orange County from Las Vegas, and this is a long time ago, but I was looking for a band. I had some bands in Las Vegas, and pretty much bounced out of college, and I got transferred for work. I was looking for a band and just put an ad up. I'm like, hey, skinny guitar player seeks heavy band. What's up? And trying to find something, and I just logged in with the guys. It was mostly Damien. I mean, we got along, but I really just liked the attitude. Damien tells a really good story about it. I think he kind of embellishes a little bit about how I came to be in the band, but it's pretty funny actually. But yeah, I'm not really, I wouldn't consider it original member. Damien started it as a studio project, and he's going to give you a better background of the band when he gets here. He should be here any minute, I'm sure. But it started off as a studio project, and it was done mostly as like kind of like more a joke, like just tongue in cheek.
Okay.
But when I came on board, I was really obsessed with writing just like better songs, and just something a little bit more heavier, more of my influences and everything. And I've always really liked Damien's lyrics. He's a master lyricist. He writes great shit, and the way that he delivers it, it's kind of a little bit unorthodox, and that's what makes it really, really interesting.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot here then, Blake, because
Yeah.
One of my favorite, like, I don't have a lot of music jokes. I have like a couple of them. Like, I'm lucky I can play the radio. That one, I know you've probably heard that one before. But
I can't even do that anymore. I don't know how to do the radio these days. I do streaming.
See, and then my other favorite one though is, what they call the guy that hangs out with the band?
The drummer.
Exactly. Because I have a very good buddy of mine who he's I think he's still considered the current drummer for the current iteration of Black Flag.
Nice.
So, his name's Isaiah Gill. He's pretty impressive. But while we're waiting on Damien, we are gonna play a little bit here. This should be Reject Control. You want to tell us a little bit about the song?
Well, I got the riff from Kill here, and when it comes to like writing the song, it was a matter of like get the guitars and then get the drums together, and then we'll write the lyrics on top of that. And there's a common theme across the album of like the history of the band has commonly talked about like the church and that power structure, but I kind of had the idea of like, well, that's less significant to the world these days. Let's focus on like where people are actually paying attention, which is the new church is the state now. And the last handful of years, especially like the last like 4 years or so, and then you can go back decades before that, there's been a lot of institutional power that's been kind of dominating people, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so since that's been such a huge focus across the country and the world, we kind of shifted focus to talking about that kind of stuff. And Reject Control is just kind of one of the songs that we have on this album that talks about those tyrannical structures and us trying to like make our voice heard against it.
Nice.
And so Reject Control is a statement against tyranny.
Well, I pray that I picked the right song then, and you like the spot that I picked it for. So here we go, folks. This is 3/6's Reject Control. I wanted to play the whole thing. Like, I'll tell you what I love about your guys' sound is it's a true, like, legit metal sound. It's not like, oh, we're acid nouveau metal with a touch of a jazz hint. Every so often we play piano in the middle of the song just to bring it down so we can have a Zen moment. Like right, like butterfly, heavy metal butterflies. Like it's just not. It's metal. It's what I want to listen to when I want to be in an extremely large truck that looks like the one from Maximum Overdrive and just run everything down, if that makes sense. Folks, I'm not running anything down. But I love the sound of it. But it also, if you go back and I love the fact that during the video it play like you can see the lyrics, you know what's being said here. And that kind of is what brought me to what I wanted to talk to you all about, was the fact that I want to get your opinions on metal music in general. And I was talking about this. Kill was listening to me talking on TikTok just before. Classic heavy metal bands like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, not so much Priest, but especially Ronnie James Dio and bands like that, they talked about political issues. They were always politically driven music. And I always felt like metal is a politically driven genre of music, always has been. But I think it gets lost in where you mentioned the religious stuff, Blake. I think it gets lost in like, oh no, it's just a bunch of Satan worshipers. They're all just out to just take our children. Like, how do you feel about that? Do you think that metal is still honest to rock and roll in that way? Or are you guys kind of a niche now to keep that alive?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, brother. You got it.
All right. So I think there's a spectrum of like different topics that metal talks about. If I can draw the analogy to Halloween, the original power metal bands, they loved the energy that metal had, but it was always focused on darker themes. And so they took that energy and put positive themes to it. And so that spanned a whole different genre of metal bands. So metal in general kind of gets stereotyped as like the anti-Christ or the anti-power structure stuff, but there's really so many different things out there. But again, it's the sort of underground scene if you have to go looking for it. And so for us, where we fit into this whole thing is sort of like the anti-power structure, and it's always kind of had that theme across the previous albums as well. And so I thought I had a point. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, we're right there. But no, that, I mean, you're saying it like you guys fit into that niche of anti-power structure. You're staying in that foundational side of, when I think of metal, that's what I think of. It really is about that conversation, but it's a much louder conversation than like who sang the song War? I can't think of the name. War. What is it good? Don't have me singing. I'm
absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I can't think of who sang it. But that's, again, that was an anti-power structure song, but it was sang in a way that was like, hey, just so you guys know, we're not happy with this.
Yeah, well, that's
in your face.
That's another thing too. Like, there's many of these different types of themes that are sung in other very different genres. And then as far as like being honest, it's just a matter of like, what message do we want to come across? And then what musical style do we attach ourselves to most? And then merging those two worlds together of the music and the lyrics. And so there's different ways that you can kind of combine those two things. And this is how we kind of found our pocket.
Well, so staying with that for a second, how you found your pocket. The two of you, did you start off just like, hey, I know, Michael, you said, hey, this was the type of music I was into. I had a couple of bands, but were you always that, or was it like, no, I kind of started off with the lounge singer, kind of like real simple, stuff. And then, always wanted to get into this and kind of fell into it. How did you get into this genre of music though?
So when I was younger, I played baseball in my teenage years, and I went to see a Pantera concert. And it was kind of,
was it a vulgar display of power?
That album was just coming out. I'm dating myself right now, but it was Skid Row and Pantera at the Fox Theater in Atlanta.
Oh, I love it. So
I grew up in Atlanta, and it was the first big show I'd ever seen. I saw all these bands like when I was younger, like Driving and Crying and REM and all them at the fairgrounds and everything. But Skid Row and Pantera were the first big, the big things that I went to see, and I love both those bands. But Pantera came out, and I had my friend with me, and we were in the second row. You remember like Turtles records and tapes? Remember Turtles?
We didn't have that up in Baltimore.
Okay. So I got second row tickets, and I was like, badass. So I get to go see Pantera, right? And they were already blasting some singles from Vulgar Display of Power on the radio out there, and they came out playing Mouth for War, and and it was just crazy. And I kid you not, Dime looked right at me, and he just stuck his tongue out and swung it around while he was playing, and I'm just like, I want to do that. That was it, man. That really did. I mean, I was listening to bands, Megadeth and of course Metallica, Black Sabbath, but I was also really heavy into like country and some pop too, just because of my family. Um, I was listening to pretty much everything, and hardcore rap, a lot of gangster rap, and it just
You must be
kind of,
close to my age. I'm
yeah,
48.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I'm there with you, brother. But we had a band in Atlanta that I grew up around called Stuck Mojo, and I love those guys. To me, they're the true rap rock pioneers, and they did it better than anybody because they were more metal. And I really grew up on that. So between Dime and Rich from Pantera, those are my two big inspirations on guitar. And yeah, those Pantera really did it though, man. And just seeing some of the bands around Atlanta and everything was really cool, man. But when I got out, I spent a lot of prime years in Vegas. I went to school out there, UNLV, and I had a rock band there. We weren't really metal, just rock band. Good times, good fun. Never really went anywhere. Um, but when I went to LA, it's just huge, just a massive difference because you become, instead of being just like an average fish in a small pond, then you become a really really little fish in a big pond, right?
Right.
But what really stuck out about 3 Sixes was just more like the attitude. I mean, the songs were good, but I wasn't really gravitated towards that. I just thought, okay, where's the potential here? I like their attitude. And I actually really like Damien's punk background. He had a punk band called Subjugator that was pretty big in the area and in Orange County and the surrounding areas. And they played with some of the larger names that would come through too. A lot of metal bands, punk bands, hardcore. And I was really drawn to that. I love the attitude. I like the fact that him and I could write really easily. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of blended in. I mean, I've done some stuff other than 3 Sixes since then, but when it comes down to it, it's like I put my heart and soul into writing a lot of these songs, man.
That's How about you, Blake? Did you start off like lounge singer style, or what was it for you?
If you want to go way far back, my mom was pregnant with me, and she would put Metallica on the Walkman and put it on her belly so I could listen to Metallica while I was still in the womb.
So, how old are you?
I'm 33.
He's the young buck. He's the young buck of the band. I used to be. Now he is.
So pretty much from the beginning, I was listening around heavy metal, like Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, all the classics.
But I love that you called it a classics. Thanks. Keep going.
Well, I mean, classics for me, I guess.
Call it classics. I love the classics. Bach, Beethoven, Megadeth.
But the first band that I really gravitated to was Oingo Boingo.
Oh wow!
And so that was the band that got me interested in like the whole world and how crazy music could get. And then I was stuck on them for a long time. And there was always like Alice in Chains or Soundgarden was a couple of bands that were around that my parents would play a lot. And when I got my first iPod at 12 years old, I'd had so much room for music that I could put all these bands onto it and start listening and exploring more. Because if I had a Walkman, what I had before, I could carry like maybe 2 CDs around. So it was always Oingo Boingo. And now all of a sudden I have 700 CDs. And so that's when I really kind of opened up my musical world to all those bands, and the Machine Head and Blind Melon was another big one for me.
Blind Melon is an interesting band. Have you ever looked completely sidebar left turn? The lead singer, couldn't tell you his name if it meant my life, but did you ever look into some of his history? He was a psychopath.
I don't know much about him, but I know he died of a heroin overdose.
So he was very typical 90s heroin overdose. There's a lot of those from the bands. But like he got banned one time, like straight up stoned out of his mind, just started peeing on the audience. Just let me go ahead and do this. And that original song that made him so big, the B-Girl song, that album had been out for like years and just happened to like be one of those things that somebody stumbled across with the video and took off. Yeah. Well, here, I'll tell you the concert tickets I just bought for me, and my 15-year-old doesn't even know. He doesn't listen to Dad's podcast. Dad's a dork. Why would you listen to Dad's podcast? We're going to the Meadowlands, System of a Down, and Korn.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Yeah. Like I just get chills saying it. Like do you? I mean, and they got somebody else like with them. I'm like, I don't know who the hell that is. Like, just skip over that. Like, can I please get some Adidas? Can I get like something going on here? Yeah. So Go ahead, Michael, please.
Sean, I would ask you, I mean, in your opinion, was the late 90s, early 2000s, was that the best era of music?
Early 90s.
Early 90s. Okay.
Early 90s. And here's why I'll say that. So I can still remember, here, Blake, here's how old I am. I can still remember watching MTV when they had music videos and them coming on and going, hey, this is an exclusive. I was watching it. I'll never forget it. Smells Like Teen Spirit played. I thought it was, and this will tell you the time frame. I thought it was an anti-war song because when he says no denial, I originally thought it said Bloody Nile. So I thought it was like and I remember going and seeing a buddy of mine from high school, Matt, that sat next to me, who's now he does lighting, concert lighting,
Nice.
and being like, dude, have you heard this band? I think they're like an anti-war band, but dude, they're amazing. So I grew up with that and Bush, Cure, Peter Smith, the Smiths, that genre. You get into the Pixies, and then moving on from there, and you start getting into but my music influence is unique because then I have an uncle who's 8 years older than me, who was Van Halen, Dio, God, anybody of that era. And then add to it, I have an uncle who graduated from Berkeley School of Music and owned everything Beatles that was ever produced. I have a tattoo on my arm that says Rainmaker, and it's a Cocapelli because that was his band, Tom Wright and the Rainmakers.
That's cool.
So
Nice.
like my musical influence, but back to your original question, Michael, for me, it is that mid 90s core where folks like you and me might have put on a CD or a tape and we were listening to Wu-Tang Clan and then flipped it right over and somebody handed you another one and you might have been listening to Bush or Ride the Lightning. Our generation, we crossed everything. There was nothing other than please take country music, roll it up really, really, really tight and stick me in the eye with it. That's the only way you're going to hurt me with it because I can't stand country, but I love bluegrass, but I
Yeah.
don't like country. So that's me.
A lot of countries are shit now too. I mean, I like the old stuff like Alabama and Oak Ridge Boys and all those guys.
Yes.
Good
Yeah.
shit. Hank Williams and all that. But in 1990, let's see, it was 94, late 94. Early 95. I had already moved to Las Vegas from Atlanta, and my late brother Ryan Wexler, we had a band together in Georgia when I was growing up, and he actually came out and he gave me the first Korn CD, and I hadn't heard him before, and blew my mind. I was like, what is this fucking garbage? Because it was just different from everything I had heard, and I was like, what are they tuned to? And it's like, I found out they were tuned, down one step to A standard on a 7-string. And I'm just listening to it. I'm like, this is huge. And it's so funny how other bands started to emulate that style, like that, even down to the songwriting, like the structures that Korn was doing.
Oh yeah.
You got a lot of bands that would copy it. And it blows my mind. A lot of bands went to like the pimp and roll style with the Adidas and everything else. But that was a big album. And the other one, oh man, I mean, it blew my mind. I didn't come into, I love Machine Head. Machine Head's one of my favorite bands all time. But I didn't really come into it until I heard 10 Ton Hammer off of the second album, The More Things Change. And
I have to listen to that one. I don't listen to a lot of Machine Head.
Okay, so most people quote the first album, Davidian. What was the first album's name? Burn My Eyes, right?
Yeah.
So, but the second one came out, and it took like the heavy and the extreme to another level. And I think Rob Flynn's one of the best songwriters of all time. I fucking love Rob Flynn. But the second album, that first song, 10 Ton Hammer, I remember just blew my mind, man. The riff was so unorthodox and weird, and I loved it. And I was like, this is great. But even they went into that kind of rap rock thing when they did the Burning Red. They went into that style too.
And here's something I love about talking to musicians. I hear that music and I go, dude, it was so awesome. Like I wanted to kick someone's chest in. And you're like, so I heard the way the riff changed and they were stepping it down. And I'm like, bro, I didn't hear none of it. I have a good friend of mine, Tom, who was he was actually in a 9 Inch Nails cover band that
Oh,
made
cool.
money, like legit, not like we just played Nine Inch Nails songs. Like, what's the one that's Bad Fish that does all the
Sublime songs and everything.
Sublime songs,
Yeah.
like that type, but it was Nine Inch Nails. And he talks the same way, and I think both of you will appreciate the heaviest concert I was ever at. And this here will really show our age for a second, Michael. It was Sepultura, Helmet, and Ministry all together in one show. You want to understand heavy, because I love Ministry. I love that, that Ministry, real like industrial sound.
Yeah.
But then I'm a big Helmet fan. Unsung to me was just amazing, and they have their backstory of everybody fighting for them, all these record companies thinking they were going to be the next Nirvana, and they weren't. And it wasn't their fault; it was the way they were presented.
They went down that rabbit hole too with their songs. I mean, they had some.
Yeah.
Page writes some serious dark shit too, man. And he's a
Oh, yeah.
jazz nerd, man. Totally.
Oh, is he?
Oh,
Yeah,
totally, dude. Total
but
jazz guy.
I love all this. So, but that kind of brings me into my next question. So, I've had a lot of people on to talk about writing different types of albums, but for you, and real quick before I get into this question, hey, if you're just joining us, you're wondering what's going on here. We've got two of the three members of the band 3 Sixes. If you want to see what they've got going on, you want to see what's happening, make sure you're checking out 36s.com. That's their website. You can get to all their music. You can get to all their links are on there. Check out what they have going on. If you're watching us live right now and you've got questions, maybe you have questions about making music, please drop those in the chat. We'll ask your questions. But for making a metal album, is it for you? Is it, especially for going from different types of music that you both have played, is it any different making an album like this compared to if you were making a rock album, or if you were making the next Oingo Boingo album? Blake, I love the fact that you said Oingo Boingo. That was I'd have never in a million years been like, yeah, so the dude who's the drummer in the metal band is a big Oingo Boingo fan. Like,
yeah, it catches a lot of people off guard.
but what, do you have this process of it, or is it, throwing shit at a wall? Like, what is it for you for the musical process?
Mm-hmm.
Kill, why don't you start? Because you're the backbone of most of the songs here.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Wow. It's when it comes down to it, I'm a big riff guy. I love riffs and I like hooks. Like, I think either playing or writing pop music in my past has also kind of bled into the metal aspect, because I do want to have a hook. Every song has to have a hook. I mean, we can sit there and have like two riffs the whole song and just blast beats the whole damn song. It'll probably be fun and good, but there's something you got to have a hook. I want a catchy riff, a very recognizable drum pattern, and I want a sing-along chorus. Those are like my three things. That's why I love. And luckily, the three of us actually can put that together with no issue. I've blown so much smoke up Blake's ass because I think he's like just the best drummer I've ever been around in my life. I mean, it's like I think I get stars in my eyes when I'm around him. I think he's the only person that makes me starstruck, to be honest with you. But we write good together. I'll start solidifying, certain riffs. I'll put things together, or there'll be times I'm driving. I'll write a song in my head while I'm driving.
Oh, wow.
And I'll come back and I'll be like, I have to record this. And the only thing that I have to really deal with is my limitations on guitar, just because I'm not like an excellent guitar player, but I'm good enough to write decent songs and good riffs, and structure them. So I really think I can focus myself good on songwriting structure and making sure that riffs transition into different parts properly. And then having a chorus where it's going to be recognizable. But from beginning to end, I want it to be something that's memorable for not only us, but for the listener. That's a really important thing to me. It doesn't matter what style it's in, because not everything is just like, haul ass, crazy blast beats or slow grindy. There's a lot of mid-tempo stuff that we do. When you hear the rest of the album, Sean, you're going to be surprised, man, because it's very unique, man. There's a lot of songs that you're going to be like, wow, this is different from what I just heard. But the way that it flows, I think we have one of the best flowing albums ever. We have an amazing album that's going to come out. I'm really stoked about it. I'm really proud of it, man.
How about for you, Blake? Now, if Michael's sitting there and he's like, "I've got this song. It's in my head. I've come up with it. It's a battle hymn of the Chihuahuas. I love your dog
Yeah.
already. I have a
You hear that, Marty? Okay.
I have a corgi. So I mean,
Oh,
I'm that guy that goes, I don't need a dog that's big meaty dog to like make me look like a tough guy. I like my little turd dog that runs around the yard. So, but for you, Blake, somebody like Michael comes along and he's like, I've wrote this riff, and now you've got to put a drum beat to it. How hard is that you've got to now interpret somebody else's thoughts in a drum sound?
Some of it is intuitive. Some of it takes some working out, like just sitting behind the kit and like playing around with the ideas on repeat. So for my musical tastes, I like everything to be as intense as it can possibly be. I love just the wall sound, just like everything happening all at once. And so I try to do that with my drums as best as I can. And that's kind of one of the reasons, like my love for the intensity in music, which was why I like have pushed myself so hard to be able to play some of the parts that are on this record. So with that as like a baseline, I'll get a riff from Kill and I'll try to interpret, because I know he likes diversity in the song and just like having room to breathe and room to speed up. And so I'll do my best to interpret what he's going for, and then I'll do what I call like a drum sketch. So I'll just hit record and just record some raw audio and play around with some ideas and do some editing. And I'll send him a version, just like, it sounds terrible, but it's enough to like hear kind of what my ideas are. And then we'll go back and forth on what we're each feeling. And so there's been a couple discussions on like, hey, I'm actually feeling this sort of flow for this part. You played this. Can we try something else? And so I'll have a couple different versions going back and forth. But it's really just, yeah, go ahead.
No. So it's interesting to me. So you actually may record 2 or 3 versions of a drum sound for a song and go back and forth before you kind of solidify like, okay, this is what you guys agree on that. Now, I know Damien isn't here, so I don't want to put nobody on the spot, but is he the hominis dominus end all be all, like this is the sound? Is it by committee? I know you said that, Blake, you said Michael's kind of the backbone of the sound right now. Like who kind of like gives it that? And if this is a wrong question to ask you guys, and you're like, don't start no shit.
You gonna do it, dude? You gonna do it?
I'm gonna, I got to. Father Guido Sarducci. That's one of my favorite characters. Listen here, Father Guido Sarducci. But who kind of sets that down with and says, okay, this is the right sound?
I think it's pretty much collective. I know Damien, he's been around since the very beginning. And so we'll present him an idea, and then if he's got some input as well, if we have something that we like and we bring it to him, like we all have to agree on it. And so if he has input, I'm like, hey, I think it should be this way. He had input on arrangement on several of the songs. And so just to make sure that the songs flow properly and that they carry through without getting boring. And so as far as the sound, I think him and Kill have worked together for so long that it's pretty natural for like, they know what to expect from each other. I'm kind of the new guy just here to play blast beats.
Languages. You guys speak each other's languages when it comes to the music.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, I mean, I honestly, Blake has so much. I think they're using the word spectrum, I guess you had earlier, but he's got a really wide range of influences that he has. Like he's already talked about with Oingo Boingo to Machine Head and so on. But he's able to play those different parts and the ability that he has, which he's worked really hard on. I mean, it's not like he's, he just plays this and that's it. He has so much different nuance that he puts with the songs, and there's little accents I've heard. I've actually had to call him and be like, did you do this in this part here? I hear this little itty bitty part here. He's like, oh yeah, I tried this. And it's like, wow, that's neat. Nobody else will probably hear it, but I love it. And it's like, great. Let's try to enhance it a little bit. It's really cool. I just think he's been really good to feed back and forth with. I can feed him the songs complete. And if he has any issues on the structure, he'll come and talk to me first. Damien's been on board with pretty much everything we brought them, and he's been digging everything. I think the whole, and Damien knows me. He's like, everything I write has to be better than what was on No God, No Peace, our last album.
That's
That
awesome.
was, we have a bar, right? And there we have a 13-minute song, which was the title track of the last album, No God, No Peace, which that was my proudest moment. That was my magnum opus until the next album starts. But then you have all this shit come out, and it's like, I just want something to be memorable. And, you know, like I said, there's a wide range of tone and song like styles, I guess you could say, or on the album. I mean, the emotions that you're going to get from the album are different from song to song, honestly.
Michael, I have to pause you for a second.
Oh, sure, buddy. Sir.
Sorry, I have to pause you for a second.
You got a fart or something?
Sitting back in the green room. We have a myth, a legend. Can't nobody see you right now.
I want to bet he's wearing a Raiders hat. Let's see.
Oh, well,
maybe not.
If he was wearing a Raiders hat, we'd all have to just give him a hug and say, it's okay.
It's okay,
next
buddy.
season. Maybe next. So joining us, folks, from parts unknown, from unknown parts, he is the leader of the pack. He's running. He is the one in the 2-3 of the 6s. It is Mr. Damien himself.
Thank you very much for having me. Totally appreciate it.
Look, Michael, Blake, I told you there's no rhyme or reason how I introduce people.
I love it. It's great, man.
It just goes, brother. Well, look, so we were just talking about the new album. We played a little bit of gosh, my brain is
Reject Control. Yeah. We
Reject
busted that
Control.
out.
I'm sitting there going through my notes. We played some Reject Control, which I'm telling you, I love that opening. And I think you'll appreciate, all three of you appreciate this. And this is what came to mind to me when I first heard the way that opened. It does have a very ministry type open to it. Like there, you can feel that industrial kind of heavy sound to it. But what we were just talking about, Damien, was and you can I can kind of run this all back, but what we're talking about is with this new album right now and putting this together, you know, with the three of you, it sounds like you all work very well together. Like, here's my piece. It's not too many cooks in the kitchen is what best way I could put it. How do you feel when you're putting a song together with them? Like, do you kind of sit back as the lead singer and go, okay, I'll wait for them to send me things, and then I'll put my little, you know, I'll put a little Parmesan, a little oregano on top of this? How do you approach it?
The majority of the songs that we did were like Reject Control. There's a few that were different. Antitheist is the first one that comes to mind, but generally speaking, they were all done in the vein of Reject Control. And this is musically the most I'm not going to say hands off because I've always participated, but yeah, it was the first time I really got to sit back and just wait for him to send me stuff. And it's really cool because we did that in the demo stages before with previous material. And there's always things that you change here and there for whatever reasons. But this batch of songs for this record were so complete that all I did was say, I think I know where the lyrics are going. What are you guys thinking? And I had really nothing to say on the arrangements. I'm going to say about 90% of the stuff. I mean, that's a pretty high ratio because I'm normally, you know, elbows deep in everything. But no, they found an amazing vibe. And when they sent this song to me, and I went over what I thought the lyrics should be about. And oddly enough, you know, they were thinking the same thing already before I even said it. And I'm like, okay, where do they go? I just want to make sure that I'm thinking the same way, you know, which is the pre-chorus and the chorus and the verses, where you want to break this and that. And this album was the easiest to write out of anything I've done because they were just on such a fucking great vibe together that, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know?
You were like the Elton John of this, where like they just sent you the music and you wrote lyrics a bit like Elton John. And look, folks, we're close to closing the bar here and everything. So if you're out there and you're seeing this right now and you got questions about either writing music or about heavy metal or even if you got a story about your own first experiences with hearing a heavy metal sound. Mine was Rainbow in the Dark, was the first heaviest song I heard.
Love it.
Ronnie James Dio, heavy Rainbow in the Dark, which I still will tell you that Ronnie James Dio to me is the greatest voice in all of heavy metal. I'm still a Rob Halford fan, but Ronnie James Dio crushes it. But if you want to know what the 3-6s got going on, you can check them out at 36s.com. That's 3THREE6s SIXES.com. They've got all their different stuff on their website. I'm just kind of popped over here. You can find all their places that you can follow them at. They've got their upcoming events. Looks like you got nothing coming up right now, but we're going to ask about that in a second. The new album, though, that is for next year, correct? And that album, when that releases, do you have an official release date for that one? I know it's early 2025, and it's Call Me the Devil. But do you have an actual, hey, this is when it's dropping?
Yeah, is it the 25th or the 29th?
I think it's the 29th. It's the Free Thinkers Day, 2025. And I'm going to give you the exact date here right now.
You got to tell me what Free Thinkers Day is.
Oh, yeah. Well, that feeds into a lot of stuff here, especially a lot of Damien's lyrics, which is great. Wednesday, January 29th, it'll be on all streaming platforms, ready to roll.
Nice. Make sure you please share a link on our pages. We'll and remind me, and I'll make sure I drop it.
So I'm going to piggyback off what something Damien was saying. It's funny because he was saying this is the easiest it's easiest for him to write. It's felt like everything's kind of written itself. But just speaking to that accord, his lyrics are they are the best. It's the highest level of Damien LeVay we've ever had. And
wow,
by far, dude. And like I was telling Sean, how I write, it's like everything that I write has to be better than the last album. And for me, No God, No Peace, the song itself, that was the bar for me. And I had to go above that. One of the last songs we brought to the table, and Blake, correct me if I'm wrong, this might have been the last song we brought to the table, was Welcome to the New World Order, which is the first actual song on the CD after our intro track. And it came from a couple of riffs from long ago. And I remember traveling out to California before we were going on tour, and I even had the riff back then. But when the song was complete, I remember telling Blake, I'm like, I just want this to blow Damien's fucking socks off, dude. I think he heard it. I was like, oh yeah, dude. It ended up being, and Damien actually selected, he's like, this needs to be the first one we lead with. And he was right, man. It hits hard. Welcome to the New World Order is the first single off of the album.
That's a great, but you know what? You bring up a great point, and I'd love to hear all your feedback from all of you on this, where you say, hey, this needs to be the lead track coming off of this. With the way music is produced today and the way we consume it, as it's really like tapas for music. We consume it as small plates, little dishes. We get a song. I explained to one of my sons the other day, I was like, yeah, we used to play CDs, and the coolest thing in the world was when your CD player went from 13 to 14 to 15 and it never played a song, and you were like, there's a fucking hidden track on here. And you skip through till you found track 69 or track, what was it? It was either 69 or 99 was the Tool album track that was like, the carrots are screaming, and this weird thing going on. When you're putting an album together today, because of the way we consume music, how much does that really, I know you just mentioned it, but for the three of you, how much does that take as an influence to, okay, we're telling a story? Like, my sons are big 21 Pilots fans. They talk about everything those guys do is a storytelling. Each album feeds to the next, telling a story, telling a story, telling a story. Do you have that kind of thing, or is it more like, this is pretty heavy, we want people to know it's heavy, and then we go from there?
Well, I got something to say about No God, No Peace, but I want Blake to speak on part of this, because it was his idea to turn Call Me the Devil into the album experience because of what you said and the way it's consumed and bits by bits. It was his idea to make this thing, you listen to it and you go on a ride like you used to back in the day.
I love it.
Yeah, some of my favorite albums are just one cohesive experiences. The last one I can point to would be Will to Run, Veil of Imagination. They're orchestral folk death metal, but that album in particular is like an hour and a half of one song experience. And what we differentiate with Will to Run is that we have every song can stand on its own, but I wanted it to tie together as one experience, so you can consume it either way. Harkening back to influence from Strapping Young Lad City, I feel like that would be an album that we draw a lot of inspiration from. I think all of us love that album.
Yeah.
And Strapping Young Lad is an amazing influence, and it's not too common in our genre that you have a cohesive album experience. But I always appreciate that, and we have the ability to create that. And so every song can stand on its own, as we have our first 2 singles out, and another one probably on the way.
Yep.
But you can, go either way with it. Consume singles or have the full album experience.
Well, we did do something, what you talked about on No God, No Peace. And it's really funny because I had to talk to disc makers who reproduced the disc to see if we can do what we were doing. And I talked to the guy that mastered it to see the idea we had. Our producer at the time wanted to have a bonus track, like you were saying, and he told me what he wanted me to write lyrically, and it's just an industrial storm, so to speak. And it's all talking parts. And he's like, just write something epic. I'm like, about what? He's like, something epic.
Just write something epic. Bullshit. Don't play around. Just write something epic.
Yeah, that's all I said. And I'm like, so then I got in a big argument with my then girlfriend, and I spat something out in like 20 minutes. And I read it to him. He's like, we're going to use that. I'm like, great. He's like, I'm just going to cut you up and put you in where I think you need to go. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So I went in there, I did it. And then we had another idea. This one's kind of fun. So if you stick, on that Tool CD, because I've got it too, it just, the clicks, the tracks play for like a half a second or a second. It just keeps going and going. But they have no song names. So we took it a step further, and ours does. So if you have it in something that plays a song's names, it tells a story. Every single song that's like a second long has a title, and it walks you all the way through it, and it goes to the bonus song, and it all reads like a sentence.
Now that's awesome. I've never seen that before.
And the mastering guy that we did that with said the same thing, and he did a lot of stuff. And
awesome.
Yeah, we have to get you one.
Blake, who's that handsome man that's standing next to you?
This is Darwin.
Oh, I love Darwin.
Yeah,
He's
he's studio dog. He's chill.
He's actually the boss in the studio for sure.
And who was the handsome one that was with you? Michael.
Oh, that was Marley. She was my little girl. She was my cousin's dog. My cousin passed away, and I'm taking care of her now.
Damien, do you have a pet?
Yeah, I got 2 wiener dogs. One of them's crippled.
See, this is what I love. Listen, folks, if you're not understanding, everybody thinks like heavy metal, like they're going to have pit bulls with spiked collars, and they're going to be walking around in remember the Kiss boots with the dragon face? Like the Kiss boots. That's what. No, most of us have like that are into that genre. Like we have little weenie dogs, and they're like, we just see Blake's got his cat. I got 2 black cats. I got 2 black cats.
My dogs here are special needs. Damien's got special needs dog and Mickey. All mine are. I have 4 dogs here at the house, and
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So we're getting kind of close, and I know I just made a left turn there. It's got a couple things that are important here. So upcoming shows, anything outside of the California, Florida area. If somebody's like, hey, I want to go check these guys out, and I'm also curious, what's a live show experience like? I mean, are we talking Guar, or are we talking like Elton John? Where are we at here? Like
we're all wearing diamond encrusted cock rings, so that's good. When it comes to like the planning shows, we don't have anything right now because we were really focused on making the experience of the singles with the lyric videos, which these 2 guys are heavy on, especially Damien. He loves lyric videos, and for rightfully so, they do a great job with them. It's important to get those out to kind of set the tone for the rest of the album. What we were kind of aiming for, and one of the reasons why we're really not. We did 2 tours at 17 and 19, and then in 2021, our bass player passed away, and Johnny Cardenas, our brother in metal, and it's not something we're really rushing into as far as looking for a bass player, so to speak. I recorded all the bass tracks on the new album, and they write themselves when you have these two guys, having such a good emphasis on the song. So it was great. But when it comes down to it, we're going to kind of pick and choose what's going to be the best avenues for us to run with. But when it comes to our live show, I actually like the way that Damien talks about it. So go for it.
Tell me about it, Damien.
It's a lot of energy, man. It's unscripted. I mean, obviously, we practice a set. We have to because we run samples, and we've never hidden that. But it's not like we're faking stuff. There's no hidden tracks that we couldn't play without. Could we play all the samples? Yeah. It's just not going to sound like the record does. Blake does an amazing job of keeping time, and because of his ability to follow the click like a boss, we can pull off everything that we do in the studio. People really are blown away when they see us for the first time because they think that all the samples on the record are just on the record, and then they come see us play, and we have this big old rig full of stuff, and and everything goes off as planned. I mean, sure, in the beginning there was a couple mishaps. They happen, but I mean, generally speaking, I can say about 99% of the time it goes off like clockwork. And I'm really proud of what we do. There's a lot of energy in there.
That's awesome. All right, so here's the important question. So we all know the stories about Van Halen with the rider. The Van Halen rider story, right?
Yeah, I read the book.
Oh, is there a book about it?
Yeah, David Lee Roth. God, it's I don't think it's Eat 'em and Smile. It's a direct from the. I can look it up, but yeah,
you have to send me a message because I didn't know there was a book about it also. And for you, Blake, since
there's a chapter about it.
So for you, Blake, I also have a book for you that I'm listening to. I drive a lot, so because of your influences with the whole anti-state, those kind of things, you need to check out Weapon of Mass Instruction. Weapon of Mass Instruction. Guy was a teacher for 30 years in New York City, wrote a book about how corrupt the education system is and how our education system is built on a Prussian system designed to just keep people in a box. If you were privileged, you can stay privileged. Everybody else, you just need to learn to be a worker.
Who's the author?
John Taylor Goodman, I want to say his name.
Okay.
Here, I'll tell you. Weapon of Mass Instruction.
I'm gonna grab it on Audible right now. That's good.
John Taylor Gatto, Gatto. Yeah, I'm listening to it on Audible.
Cool.
I just thought about that for Blake, just based on what you kind of said. But we're talking about, when I mentioned Van Halen, that's it, brother. You're gonna love it. Michael, you'll have to send me a message because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, because it's one of those ones that, as a parent, between my wife and I, we have 8 kids. She had 4, I had 3. We went half on one. And I have 6 grandkids and a 7th on the way. And reading this book makes me want to take every one of my kids out of public school, homeschool them, and figure out what's going on, because it's such a change. And we're getting closer, folks. If you're just joining us and you want to know about 3 Sixes, it's THREESIXES.com. See what they got going on. If you have any questions for us about their music, let me know now. But this is one of my things I love. Let me ask this first, and then we'll add to it. Do you have a rider?
No.
No rider?
Rider for shows.
A rider for shows?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. But then let me ask. I want to know, it's going to be a 2-part question. For each of you, if you could put anything on your rider, what is it? I want to know what it is.
I'm surprised you guys haven't already answered for me. My God.
I don't know what a rider is.
So rider, Blake, is something that's in your contract that says when you get to a certain area, they must have this. The Van Halen one was either red M&Ms or brown M&Ms or something like that. And they deliberately put it in their rider because they had so much going on. There were so many safety concerns in the show that they wanted to make sure the contract was being read. and they knew if it was or wasn't because they would go into their dressing room, and if the M&Ms weren't the way they said they should be, they knew no one read it and they needed to be concerned for safety. So
they actually would trash David Lee Roth would trash everything. And in the writer, it said if the M&Ms, I think it was brown. And by the way, the book was Crazy from the Heat. It's a chapter that's in the book. And he said, in the writer, if this wasn't met, then all bets are off. Anything the band did, and the band being David Lee, he would trash everything, okay? And the writer would also say that in doing so, they still had to get paid and they didn't have to play. And it happened because they played in a college basketball arena that was brand new, had a brand new floor in there. And they put in the writer, hey, look, this our gear is really big and it weighs a lot. And the college tried to sue them because the stage damaged their basketball court. Well, they lost because it was in the writer. So David Lee took it upon himself to make sure everybody read it. And then it became legend, as you said.
Yeah. So that's your writer, Blake, is like, if you were like, I want only gummy worms that are green, laid horizontally facing Mecca is what I need, then that's your thing. But so I'm curious, what would be the one thing each of you would have on your rider if you could have anything on it?
I just figured mine out.
What is it, Dave?
It's probably the same as Kills.
What is it?
Del Taco.
Oh, dude, yes. We need a Del Taco sponsorship. Are you? Del Taco, we need a sponsorship for the next tour.
I like Del Taco. It's decent. I like the fact that you can get French fries at a taco place.
And they're good for you too. My God.
Do you got one, Blake?
We took it. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. We got food at Vant at Vegas one time. That was pretty cool. I don't.
Dude,
well, I don't get to it.
Dude, we had when we played in was it Eugene, Oregon? I think it was the second Oregon date we did. It was that little pub, and dude, they fed us, and that was one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life.
That was the best burger I've ever had to this day.
Unreal.
So a couple places have given us
Oregon
food.
was great, man. Yeah.
Well, if you guys make it to the right coast, if you make it out here to the right, if you make it out here to the right coast, you spend a lot of time out on the left coast. Come out here to the right coast. I'll make you a deal. I will take you to, and I've been to one of the top 50 burger places in the country, which is in Vermont, a place called the Farmhouse. Their burgers taste like meaty butter. I'll take you to a place called Gracie's Luncheonette. I get no sponsorship from them, but I don't give a shit. Gracie's burgers are so good. And it's one of those places where it's like, the cow that this burger came from's name was Tammy. Touched every day in this way until she gently passed away, and now you're eating her. One of those kind of places. But they don't even carry like Pepsi or Coke products. All their sodas are when you order a Coke, they're like, oh, you want a cola? They make you a cola with soda water and
that sounds amazing.
It's their burger. It's in Leeds, New York, this little area called Gracie's Luncheonette. It's absolutely phenomenal. And they have a little bakery inside of it that makes like killer donuts. So I'll take you guys there. That's my deal. But that goes into my second question. Before we close up and everything, craft table. You can have anything on your craft table. Not Del Taco, Michael. Not Del Taco. Fungul. You can have anything on your craft table. It could be tacos, but you got to have like birria tacos at least. But
birria, yeah, that's what I had for dinner. So yeah,
we got a place out here by me, and New York's not known for its Mexican food, but I have friends who are originally from Mexico and they came out this way. They do a birria pizza.
Oh, I'm down, bro. Let's do it.
And they'll do
as long as I got the consomme to dip in. I'm cool.
Their consomme. They do a ramen consomme.
What?
Yes, take the consomme with ramen noodles.
No way, bro.
Dude, it's absolutely killer.
Oh, my fat ass is larger and in charger right now.
Listen,
oh my God.
There's a little chubby kid that lives in my soul.
Dude, I am the chubby kid, bro. I'm down, bro.
Look, I found the chubby kid in my soul. But on your craft table, what is the one thing, if you could have anything on your craft table, what would it be? I already know, Michael. You went Del Taco. I got
No,
it.
no. Actually, dark roast coffee. If we're talking anything.
Oh, really? All right.
I love coffee. I don't drink much, so I really don't want any alcohol. But I mean, I love dark roast coffee. I don't care. I just like I like Cafe Bustelo. Some of the Black Rifle stuff is good.
Have you had Death Wish?
Death Wish? No, I have not yet. I used to drink Max though, which was pretty damn close to Death Wish, anyways.
Yeah, they're right here in Saratoga, New York.
I got really high blood pressure, so I got to be careful because I drink a lot of coffee as it is, and I load up on pre-workout before I go lift weights.
Oh, I love
so it's like I'm just a heart attack waiting to happen at this point. You're
an aneurysm in a box.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Damien, what's on yours?
Cigars.
That's what it would be. I'm like, do I have a choice?
So we got coffee and cigars on the craft table. Blake, what do you got on yours?
It's a good question. I don't have many demands. Water. Give me some good water. That's all I need.
Can it at least be like the water from the Water Boy, where he's like, "This was blessed by an Eskimo monk."
Yeah, I'll take that.
He'll say it's cold all the time.
He's got to stay hydrated. I mean, he's not lying. I mean, he's back there doing all the fucking work. So.
At least you guys didn't tell me like he's like the drummer from No Doubt and he just sits there naked and plays the entire time.
I think if we ever play like Europe or something, we'll probably do some naked shows at some point. So
yeah, you'd have to. I mean, at least in Germany.
Yeah, of course.
Well, that's for sure.
Everybody wants to see the schnitzel. I don't know. I don't know what you want to do.
And I ain't got no more time for no Wiener Schnitzel, babe.
Oh, I miss Wiener Schnitzel. We don't have any out here in Florida either.
We still have them out here.
What's that?
We still have them out here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I miss that much, man.
I could talk food with you because 20 years in the Marine Corps, traveling all over the U.S. The one thing I wish we had on the East Coast that you guys have out there is I wish we had Jack in the Crack. There's nothing better in my life than an ultimate double bacon cheeseburger from Jack in the Crack. That's just
2 a.m.
Oh,
yeah.
But you know, and I get the Carl's Jr. Hardee's thing. That's a whole thing in and of itself. But I will tell you what I'm so glad that I'm not on the left coast for. And this is, folks, if you're still sticking with us, we're a little running over. I don't care. I'm enjoying myself. This is my show. I can do what I want to do. Is California is the most vanilla place I've ever been to in my life. It is every building, every house looks the same. Every structure is the same. And there's good food and whatnot. But I remember going, we were just out there recently. My old commanding officer retired. So I took my 7-year-old and we went out to San Diego. And I remember just driving around. I'm like, whereas if you're here on the West Coast, on the East Coast, every state wants to be its own identity. It wants to be its own thing. It wants to be its own. Like I would hate to be in Baltimore and feel like I'm anything like Philadelphia, even though we're an hour and a half from each other. That's a whole nother world. We're not the same. We're not the same at all.
You know what, though? Going to what you're saying, I know the spots you're talking about, and so do these guys. That's known as South County, where everything's homogenized, and looks like they made that movie Weeds. Tiny houses on the hillside. Yeah, it's all like that. But the further north you go, like into the Huntington Beach area, and you start getting into Seal Beach, Long Beach, and hitting LA, then you're going to get some really good food. And quickly, I got some of the best Mexican food I've ever had in my life on a sidewalk right across the street from my house, like 6 days a week. These guys, somebody tried to one of the competitors tried to like jack their people or whatever. Everybody ate the truck once and just lines up right in front of it and just goes to our friends. It's flipping awesome, dude. Oh, and Tommy's. Have you had Tommy's?
No, what is that?
Tommy's Chili Burgers. Look them up. That's a West Coast thing for sure, dude.
The same going in and the same going out. So pretty much.
Super exciting.
Well, look, folks, if you're looking to know about 3 6s, I mean, just talking to these gentlemen, it is an absolute blast. If there's shows or anything like having the conversation we just had, it's going to be a good show. A lot of energy, a lot of a lot of heart. You know, we played a little bit. I mean, look, I mean,
less food, more metal, probably at the shows.
That was just for you, David. I didn't play the whole thing. Just had to show that part for you. That's what you make sure you're checking them out. The album's going to drop. You said the 29th there, Kill?
January 2025.
January 29th. The new album's going to drop. I expected everyone that's listening to this takes the moment, goes ahead and pre-orders at least 10 to 15 copies of it. Because as we know, they need 15. You have to, what is it? I got it. One of my old guests, he said it was something like you have to have like 15,000 downloads to equal one album purchase from the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Good old
something
Spotify.
ridiculous. It's something ridiculous. So make sure you have it on loop that you're just going to download everything over and over and over so that the next thing you know, they can make it here to the East Coast with me and we can go eat like fat kids. I'll tell you after the show about what we got here in Albany that I think will make Mike put a little twinkle in Michael's eye. But so make sure you're checking them out. But as I always say, if you're finding the band through me or me through the band, make sure you're giving us a like, share, follow on all your social media, all the different things you got going on. That way they can get found. That way we get found. That's why we all do these kind of things, to keep growing and keep expanding. Now, gentlemen, I know you downloaded and listened to all 262 of the other episodes of this. I think this is 263. It's 263 or 264. It's something like that. We've done this for 4 years. And you listen to all of them. So you know what's about to come. And you guys can Rochambeau for it. You can rock, paper, scissors. I don't care what you do, but the guests always get the final word. And since there's 3 of you, you guys can figure out who gets to go first and who gets to go last, but each of you get your own final word. And don't log off afterwards. I need to talk to you for a minute after the show. So what's the final word?
Is there anything concerning or just all
No,
around?
whatever you want to say. Whatever you want to say. This is your spot. You got control.
Go ahead, guys. I need a minute. Whew.
I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to still break Blake's thunder, maybe. Or Blake, you want to go first? Okay.
Go for it. You got something.
You're LF.
Yeah, okay. What I'm going to tell people for the very first time when I listen to this record, Blake was, man, he was so onto this. This is what you do. If you're a stoner, light up beforehand. If you're a drinker, have a couple before. Do whatever to get in your spot, to be just zone out, okay? Give yourself 42 minutes of time in the best frame of mind, completely uninterrupted. Hit play. And let it just play by itself until it ends.
Blake, what do you got?
After you do that, put this in your workout playlist.
You go.
And Michael, you got the final word, brother. What is it?
Everybody should lift weights. Everybody should eat red meats. And drink dark roast coffee. I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'm happy to be along the ride with these guys. They make me really proud to be in this band. So just looking forward to showcasing what we have for everyone. And pre-orders are going to be dropping. We'll have pre-orders set up for mid-December. We'll start be able to pre-order the album for January.
We'll have a new Bandcamp merch page up too. It's actually up right now, but it still needs some work. But it will be up by the end of the month and functioning.
We also have masks and neck gaiters for the next pandemic that we have. We have plenty of 3/6 logoed masks and neck gaiters available for people too, and they're on the website.
Alrighty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.